First, let's talk about space travel, the tyranny of distance.
The evidence is overwhelming that people from all over the world and all walks of life have seen unidentified flying objects, with most believing that these are spaceships from another planet or another star system. But is it even feasible for aliens to traverse trillions of kilometers across the heavens in faster than light vehicles? Dr. Henry L. Richter is a former rocket scientist from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He helped develop and pioneer many of America's first space successes, such as Explorer 1, America's first satellite in space, and the Ranger, Mariner, and Surveyor programs.
I've been involved in the development of space vehicles for exploration for over 60 years. You know, there are massive problems with the idea that advanced aliens can simply warp themselves around the galaxy, jump into hyperspace, or use wormholes, etc.
The nearest star to our own sun is Proxima Centauri, which is about 4.4 light years from Earth. That's about 45 trillion kilometers away. Our own sun is 150 million kilometers from the Earth by comparison. So even if you could travel at the speed of light, it would take you 2.5 million years to reach the closest galaxy, which is Andromeda. That's over 500,000 times further away than Proxima Centauri.
There is a tyranny of distance in space if one wants to explore other worlds or star systems. Einstein theorized that the maximum speed possible could only ever be the speed of light. This is because as our speed increases, our mass also increases until at the speed of light, our mass becomes infinite. Although one is weightless in space, the same laws of physics apply out there as they do on Earth.
Imagine a very small spacecraft, only 1 ton or 2,200 pounds. How much energy would it take to reach just a third the speed of light, or 100,000 kilometers per second? Simple physics shows that it would need a huge amount of energy. How huge? Twice as much as the total energy produced worldwide by all nuclear testing and combat combined. And when you get to your destination, you need the same amount of energy to slow it down. Then when you want to return home, it has to be accelerated and slowed down again. Every round trip requires a fourfold input of this enormous amount of energy. And this is just for a tiny craft, not the Enterprise or the huge ships in Independence Day.
Now, the Surveyor spacecraft that my team and I worked on actually landed on the moon, which paved the way for the later Apollo missions.
Burn your ignition. Retro is now firing. Ignition looks stable. Falling steadily.
And yet, at the best speed of those enormous Apollo craft, which took 3 days to reach our moon, it would take 870,000 years to reach Proxima Centauri, the nearest star out from our own sun.
870,000 years for our spacecraft to reach the next star. Tyranny of distance. And if you saw that graph as we approach the speed of light, the mass increases infinitely. You would need infinite amount of energy to go to the speed of light, which is impossible. So there's no aliens traveling the speed of light to get here. Just as it would take us 870,000 years with our current rockets to reach the first star, it would take them just as long. Well, we have the tyranny of the travel. We also have incredibly hostile environment. And listen to this, it makes it even worse.
Space is an incredibly hostile environment. It is estimated that there are 100,000 dust particles per cubic kilometer of space. For example, when the Space Shuttle Challenger hit a small paint flake in 1983, the impact energy was so great that it gouged a crater in the front window. These windows were designed to be extremely robust.
The Hubble Space Telescope already has several holes in its structure after just 12 years circling the Earth. traveling at about 1/10,000th of the speed required for galactic travel.
Note that the energy is proportional to the square of the speed, so our hypothetical 1/3 light speed craft would suffer 100 million times the energy damage of the Hubble for a given impact. So even a grain as light as a snowflake would be like a pinpoint explosion of 4 tons of TNT. An object with the mass of a raisin would result in an impact with the energy equivalents of 80 Hiroshima atomic bombs.
Now, science fiction, such as Star Trek, has invented concepts such as force fields, deflector arrays, and shields to deal with these problems. Now, some electrically charged objects can be deflected using electromagnetic fields, but here we're talking about withstanding energy impacts totaling multiple atomic bombs. This remains purely in the realms of science fiction, because the same equally powerful and opposing force would have to be generated to deflect such objects.
The travel distance problem. It's the single greatest problem for both science fiction writers and believers in the extraterrestrial hypothesis. It's the idea that advanced aliens could be traversing space within their own lifetimes. Now, people might say, you can't say it's impossible. I mean, we don't know what technologies will be invented in the future. And that's true, we don't. But the requirements being spoken for galactic, faster-than-light travel require a violation of the laws of physics that govern our universe. I mean, you can't build anti-gravity spacecraft, for instance. You simply can't switch off gravity. You can only build more and more powerful craft to escape gravity. But once you do that, you create a whole bunch of other problems.
So it gets worse. But first we'll talk about the secular scientists are seeing this. So they have to come up with other ways. The next video will discuss the term Directed Panspermia. This is intelligent life from outer space, aliens, bringing life to Earth. Some atheist astronomers and other secular scientists are now admitting that life can't happen scientifically on its own from primordial slime, from, you through the zoo. They find directed panspermia is more credible than spontaneous origin of life from evolution. They're starting to give up on evolution, so they believe aliens came and dumped DNA into our water to cause evolution.
There's another problem for the extraterrestrial hypothesis that has aliens visiting us from a galaxy far, far away, and that is, did life evolve on Earth by chance? And if it did, would that evolution occur millions of times over elsewhere in our universe?
The idea that some simple life first formed in some primordial swamp on Earth about 3 billion years ago is known as chemical evolution or abiogenesis. And because it happened here, they reason it must have happened on billions of other planets in the universe. However, just as cosmic evolution is anti-scientific, so is the claim that biological life can come about by chance, random processes. Now, all living creatures require vast amounts of coded information. Even the simplest self-reproducing cell has about 600 kilobytes of information in its DNA. And this must be highly compressed. To simulate what it does during reproduction took over 100 powerful computers running for 10 hours. Even the popular atheist astronomer Paul Davies noted, how did stupid atoms spontaneously write their own software? Nobody knows. There is no known law of physics able to create information from nothing.
But in order to avoid the idea of a designer, many people have looked elsewhere for answers to these questions. Some have suggested that life on Earth could have arrived by chance from another planet and floated to Earth in some icy comet or meteorite. This is known as panspermia, or almost literally, seeds from space everywhere. But how could organic life survive the incredibly harsh environment of space when there's no oxygen, there's below freezing temperatures, there's harmful radiation? and then just happened to be captured by Earth's gravity as it flew past at tens of thousands of miles an hour and somehow avoided being burned up as it entered the Earth's atmosphere like 48 kilometers per second, and then survived smashing into the planet at supersonic speeds that are fast enough to melt the very ground on impact. It was problems like this that prompted the atheist astronomer and Big Bang critic Sir Fred Hoyle to say, "There's also not the slightest trace that any primeval soup ever existed on Earth, let alone any other planet. If the beginnings of life were not random, they must therefore have been the product of purposeful intelligence. It is big enough to bury Darwin and the whole theory of evolution."
Francis Crick, the primary discoverer of DNA, is one of those scientists who realize it can't happen spontaneously. So he, like other scientists, are imagining that intelligent life from outer space brought life to Earth. And they find that more credible than the idea of spontaneous origin of life.
But directed panspermia doesn't actually solve anything. It has the same problems as the undirected variety, and that is, how did life start? It just pushes the origin of life problem off into outer space where we can't actually test it. And if aliens created life on Earth, then who were the creators of those aliens? And then who created the aliens that created life on Earth? You can't go back forever because this Big Bang is supposed to have happened in the finite past. And since it just invokes more unscientific ideas to solve those original unscientific ideas, it's no wonder ufology has been called a substitute religion.
Research has shown that people who are not affiliated with any church, but who claim that they are religious, are particularly susceptible to the possible existence of extraterrestrials. For them, ufology is a substitute religion.
Enrico Fermi said, "Are we the only advanced civilization in the entire universe? If we are not, then where are they?" If you use evolutionary beliefs in the 14 billion-year-old universe, there should be plenty of time for other advanced civilization to colonize planets, and they would come here. But the Fermi Paradox says, where is everybody?
In the 1950s, Nobel Prize winner and pioneer of atomic energy, Enrico Fermi, while working at the Los Alamos nuclear facility in New Mexico, raised some straightforward questions. Are we the only advanced civilization in the entire universe? And if we are not, then where are they? Why haven't we seen any traces of extraterrestrial life, such as probes or transmissions? Why haven't we found their artifacts on Earth or in our solar system?
Fermi, not unreasonably, based upon his evolutionary assumptions, also suggested that intelligent aliens will be curious explorers just like us, and in a 14 billion-year-old universe, there should have been plenty of time for at least the very first advanced races to send starships to colonize other planets. Even if it took millions of years for each colonizing effort. The new colony once established and the original civilization could each send out another expedition to colonize other planets, doubling the number of new colonies every million years. After 10 million years, there'd be over 1,000 alien colonies, and after 20 million years, there'd be 1 million. At that rate, at 40 million years, there'd be 1 trillion civilizations. After 14 billion years, the number of alien civilizations in the universe would be tripping over each other. That's called the Fermi Paradox. Or in short, where is everybody?
Well, it is not for the lack of searching. For over 50 years, and via 60 different projects, they've been scanning the universe at a rate of millions of radio frequencies every second, yet they've never eavesdropped even once on ET phoning home in all that time.
No ETs out there. And we're spending millions of dollars trying to find ET.